What's up, guys? We're at Mid-Ohio. It has been an awesome couple days here so far. We're getting ready to sign up for the Vintage Motocross tomorrow. Been hanging out with Uncle Dale, aka Heavy D, and we all rolled in here the other night. I got my diesel dually, New England Motorcycle Museum rig, and that's Dale's rig right there, the Harley Davidson Featherlight, and been cruising around on this XR650. But hey, this is story time with Uncle Dale, so stay tuned. We've got some kick-ass videos from Mid-Ohio coming. We're getting set to run the 500 and the Noguchi 125 tomorrow. We're gonna race these. So I'm on the 97 CR 500 Kaplan America weapon, and then Junior's 500 is over there. Christy and I have been camping out in the rig here, been eating like kings. But Uncle Dale's got some stories to tell us, and we got a little story to tell you about the shirts we're wearing tonight. So it's all about the bikes this weekend, but it's also about the friendship and the brotherhood. Uncle Dale, as we call him, is known in Pittsburgh as Heavy D, and if he chooses to, we'll let him explain why. But we're all wearing the same shirts today. This is an honor and a tribute to be included in Dale's family to wear these colors. Junior got his grandfather's name. That was his grandfather's name, God rest his soul. And it's an honor, and we're grateful to be associated with the Bad Guys Incorporated, and it's the Fixer. So you got some big shoes to fill there, son. I'm sure Dale chose you to have his grandfather's name for a reason. So, Heavy D, tell me a little bit about.
Bad Guys Incorporated was all a big joke at first. It started back when I was a young man, and there was a group of gentlemen that was a little bit older than us, quite a bit older than us, that we wanted to really hang around with, and they had their own club. They were the Italian descent, and they were pretty tough. They were tough guys, and we wanted to hang with them.
Yeah.
And they told us that they didn't think we were tough enough, But one night I seen them in a bar, and they said, "We're going to see how tough you are, and we're going to give you a challenge if you accept it." And my buddy and I were sitting there having a couple cold beers, and we said, "What is it? We'll do anything to hang out with you. We're young, strong bucks, And the one guy says, "Well, there's a guy who owes us 10 grand that he hasn't paid us, and if you come up with that money, we'll consider you worthy of being one of the bad guys like us." And we thought that was funny. And so they told us who this guy was and where he hung out at. And I looked at my buddy Moose. He was a real big dude. He was the same age as me, and we were in our 20s. And I said, "Moose, you want to take the challenge?" He goes, "Let's do it," because these guys are cold. They're badder than cold. So we hunted this guy down, and we found him one night drinking beer in a gin mill right north of Pittsburgh. And my buddy and I walked in all cocked up, and we snuck up behind him, and he was a big boy. He was about the same size as me, but my buddy Moose was big. He was a big boy. That's why we called him Moose. But Moose grabbed one arm, and I grabbed the other arm, and we walked this guy out the door. And as we walked him out the door to the rear parking lot, freshly black asphalt pavement, and it was just finished raining, and the steam was coming off of it, And my buddy says, "Do you have a plan?" I said, "Yeah, I have a plan." I said, "Hold his hand on the pavement." And the guy goes, "What's that going to do?" I said, "You'll see." And I got this 1980 Chevy Blazer with a big block Chevy, and I fire my Blazer up with these big giant tires and a big lift kit, and I pull the front tire on top of the guy's hand in the parking lot.
That was your big block 454 Blazer. You parked it on his hand.
Yeah, I had a 454 jammed in a Chevy Blazer, and we were cold back then. Yeah. Big giant tires and all lifted up. That all is coming back again. But anyway, the guy's screaming like a girl, and my front tire's parked on his hand. And my buddy Moose was going, "Wow, I can't believe you did that." And I said, "Well, I think we got his attention." Yeah. I said, "He knows we're serious," and this guy's screaming like a girl. And we said, "We're going to go in the bar, and we're going to have a drink, and we're going to come back, and you're going to think about this infraction that you've made by not paying these gentlemen the money that you owe them, and we feel that you should pay them." So we went in the bar and we had a quick drink, and my buddy goes, "We got to get out there because the cops are going to be here any minute, I'm sure," because everybody in the bar heard about it, and they're all running out and looking at this guy screaming like a girl with the front tire parked on his hand. And my buddy and I walk out real cool, and Moose says, "I got something really funny to do." And I said, "What's that, brother?" He goes, "Watch this." And he walks out and he whips out his junk, and he says to the guy, "You look thirsty. I think I'm going to buy you a drink." And he peed on him. And I went, "Dude, how can you urinate like that?" He said, "I had to pee bad." So this guy's screaming. He's now got urine all over him, and he's begging for anything.
So is your Blazer parked on his tire still?
He's begging to be. I said, "Are you going to pay the money?" He goes, "Yeah." And I backed my Blazer up.
I don't know if he told the part about lead piping him before.
Well, I don't want to mention any of the other persuasion, because that could be construed as
I might have
poor behavior.
Yeah, okay.
So we're trying to clean it up as good as possible, you know.
I was editorializing.
But the guy is crying, and he's got his hand looks like a catcher's mitt. It's huge, okay? And it actually has the tire tracks of my Wide Mutter Gumbos. And if you remember Wide Mutter Gumbos, you're old, okay? Because that tire hasn't been around forever. But anyway, I backed the Blazer up, and my buddy helps the guy up, and he said, "Can you write? We'll even accept a check." And the guy said, "I'll do anything." So we walk him down to his Corvette. He's still crying. Yeah. And my buddy says, I hope you're not right-handed. And the guy wrote us a check. And
left-handed.
He wrote us a check, left-handed, and he made the check out for $10,000 to cash. And he handed it to me, and he says, "You guys have lost your fucking mind." That's what he said to us. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. But my buddy Moose goes, "Hey, you need to get that hand looked at immediately." He said, "If I was you, I would go directly to the hospital, okay? And you need to tell them that you had an injury, and we hope we never see you again." So we get the $10,000 check, and we're like kids. We rush to where these guys hang out at, and we walk in, and they're all sitting around playing cards, smoking cigars, and they're just cooler than hell. And I says, "I got the money." And they were dumbfounded. These Italian guys were dumbfounded. They stopped smoking. They stopped playing cards, and they went, "You got the money?" I said, "Yeah, the guy wrote us a check." And they says, "We would take a check because it's made out to cash." So these Italian gentlemen were so cool. They went, "You know what? You guys are now bad guys. Yeah. You can hang out with us." And we looked forward to any type of assignment they would give us. You know, I would have got their mail for them just to hang out with them. They were so cool. The sad story is all of them guys are dead. And I come up with this company, Bad Guys Incorporated. And to get a shirt from Bad Guys Incorporated, you have to be worthy of what I believe it takes to wear it. And I think you guys are my new East Coast branch of Bad Guys Incorporated.
Thank you, brother. It's an honor.
Junior here has the Fixer. That I normally pick the name that goes on the shirts. I buy them, I give them to my friends, and they're, you know, it's a token, it's a gift. But I normally pick the name, and you have to wear that. That's your handle from here on in. Junior got the Fixer. That was my grandfather's nickname. He was an Italian man that could fix any problem. He could fix anything, and all his friends called him the Fixer. And
that's awesome.
I just love that name, and that's why I wanted Junior to have it. And you are the only person that ever got his real name on it, or your own nickname, Kaplan America.
Thank you, brother.
But that's just a crazy story about hanging out with some old guys, some cool guys, and that was the late '70s. The '70s were cool. You could get away with anything you wanted to do as long as you had a fast car and a ski mask. But that's the story of Bad Guys Incorporated, and the old Italian guys thought that us young kids were worthy of hanging out with that group of bad men they called themselves. But I enjoyed telling that story. That brought back a lot of good memories.
Awesome, Dale. Thanks, brother.
Hey, thank you.
Really honored to have the shirts and spend the weekend here at Mid-Ohio. I believe this is your, well, you've been coming here for almost 30 years, right?
I've been coming here since I believe it was 1990 or 91, somewhere around there. We heard about it. We rode our bikes out. We were young bucks. We packed sleeping bags and tents. We slept on the dirt. You couldn't get me to do that. Back then, I was a bad guy. Today, I'm an old bad guy.
You're styling in the Featherlight condo with AC and bathroom and everything there, huh?
Hey, now I need all that stuff. Back then, I didn't need it, you know.
Well, thanks for, this won't be the last story time with Uncle Dale, or Heavy D, as his friends call him. So stay tuned for more. So Dale, I know the last time you told me the story, this is going online and it's going to Hangar 56 reality show people also. And there was a little bit more about the story about Moose you wanted to...
Moose had been a friend of mine ever since 7th grade, and he was a big dude, and he was bigger than me, and he was one of the toughest guys I had ever met, and he was one of...
Is Moose still alive?
Moose is still alive, and he's still a big dude, but the crazy thing about Moose is I was hit by him once, and that was the hardest I'd ever been hit by a human.
That was by mistake, right?
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
Sort of.
I'll tell you about that story later. But he hit me, and I thought I got hit with a freaking meteorite. Okay? And but Moose was my right hand.
I think
man.
if I remember that in that story, he was trying to kick the shit out of 4 guys by himself, and
four guys.
He got pissed off because you jumped in.
I stepped in,
and he wanted to prove he could kick all 4 of their asses by himself.
Yeah, there was.
And you stepped in because one of them was about to lead pipe him in the back of the head, right?
Yeah, he was.
Somebody was about to use their t-ball bat in the back of his head.
It was equal to that. We walked out of a bar, and these 4 guys called him a 4-letter girly word. And it was all over a woman because he was talking to this woman.
How'd that turn out for them?
It didn't turn out good. But he said to me, he said, "Don't move." I said, "What are you going to do, brother?" He said, "I'm going to do those 4 guys up. If it's the last thing I do," I said, "There's 4 of them." He said, "I'm going to be okay." I said, "I'll step in if I see it getting ugly." So I sit on the curb, and he goes out there, and they're beating the shit out of him, but he's in control, and he's getting beat up, but they're getting hurt, okay? And I see this one guy going to hit him in the back of the head with a pipe, and I get up, and I run up, and I pull back, and I sucker this guy in the back of the head, and the next thing I know, I got hit so freaking hard, all the air I had in me expelled out, and I couldn't breathe. And I turned, and I'm going, who just hit me that hard? And it's my buddy. My own buddy, Moose, nailed me. And he goes, "I told you to stay out of this. I got it." And I'm like, "Dude, I thought they were going to hurt you." He goes, "Sit down." While we're talking, they're still beating him up. And I said, "All right, fine. Go ahead and take it." And I sat there, and Moose prevailed. He looked like he went through a washing machine. He was a little twisted up. But the moral of the story was Moose did what he wanted to do. And I found out why they called him Moose too. Going back to when we were rolling, where we parked our Blazer.
Parked your Blazer on the depth doors.
My buddy Moose, when he urinated on this guy, when he said, "You look thirsty, let me buy you a drink." And I heard the zipper go down, and I looked, and my buddy Moose is whipping out the largest male extremity I've ever seen. and for a minute, I was jealous. I said, "That is just not fair." So it takes like 4 seconds for Moose to expose himself. So Moose is standing there holding it like a hose, and he's peeing on the guy, and I found out that that's where the name Moose came from, and I thought it was just because he was a big dude. And I learned something that I didn't want to know. It was too much information. But I told Moose, I said, God was good to you. I said, you're a big guy, and whatever you're going to do with that, I have no idea.
Story time with Uncle Dale.
Tag team with this.